Good morning, good morning, good morning, or good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever you are joining me from in this big, beautiful, and messy world. I thank you for being here. I am Carol C.C. Miller, your positive life strategist, peace activator, and global hugger, coming to you with another episode of Embrace Your Life Chat, where the intention is to heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus. I am here in Chicago. It is a rainy spring day here. Let me know where you're joining me from in this big, beautiful, and messy world. And if you're new to my work, let me know that as well, because I love to be able to welcome in newbies into the Positive Focus community. So before we get started, I definitely want to mention a couple things that I like to speak up about at the very beginning of any session. And one is I'm not an absolutist. I'm not a big believer in always, never, right, wrong, good, or bad. There are 7 billion people in this world. I can't begin to say what is always right for 7 billion people or never right for them for that matter. So I work on the majority of the time, 0 being always negative, 100 being always positive. My personal daily practices are to be in the 80 to 100% of the time positive, loving, kind, compassionate, and peaceful. Does not mean I'm there all the time, certainly doesn't, but it does mean that that's where I place my focus on the majority of the time. What does that mean? Disappointment, frustration, anger, sadness, unworthiness, all of those things visit me. But because they're a daily practice, I don't live there. I move forward into feeling a little bit better. Secondly, I'm a coach. I love supporting people on living their best life on whatever that looks like. I am not a counselor nor am I a therapist. And sometimes to live your best life, that type of support is helpful to you. As many people come in onto these conversations, and again, you only see me here, but everyone in the chat is part of this community and part of the conversation. And sometimes people will ask questions about depression or anxiety. And for me, it goes back to the amount of it for my support. Does not mean that you're a bad or wrong person if you are dealing with this in a harder way. If you are dealing with disabilitating depression, anger, frustration, anything that is disabling you on a bigger level to live your best life, I encourage you to seek that support to get there. That is not my training, is to help people in those types of situations. So I do want to say before we get into today's topic, because it just came in, not going to say the person's name because it's absolutely not about calling somebody out. And honestly, this person's probably been part of our conversation. I don't recall, but they meant, let me just read it really quickly. Because again, if you are joining me, the last thing I want you to do when you leave these calls is to feel like I don't see you or hear you, and that everything is rosy and rainbows, because you may be in a difficult space. So your intentions are to uplift and help keep people thinking positive. I commend you. Those of us who live in a very negative world and situation don't really see things as negative as those outside looking in think we do. We aren't always the way others see us. So very true. No amount of encouragement can change the depressive state of the situation that surrounds us. Others do not understand. Since I have had no future to look forward to, no dreams that will be fulfilled, it is easy to lose hope that someday things will improve. It's not negative, it's learning to cope with where you are at. Thank you, thank you, thank you for messaging me that, because I absolutely don't want people to think that I am sugarcoating any hardships that you might be dealing with, because that's not my intention whatsoever. I'm not for everyone, for sure. This was a very kind and gentle message to remind me that there are people out there who are very much suffering and in very hard places. And I encourage you to seek that support, whether it's coming here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, whether it's hiring me as a coach, another coach, getting therapy and counseling support, clergy, best friends, whatever it is. I'm a firm believer that you're worthy of living your best life, and your best life looks different than my best life. So it's not a right or wrong. It's about finding your own inner peace, however that is. So please know, if you walk away from this conversation ever feeling like I am trying to sugarcoat your personal situation, accept my apologies, because that's absolutely not what I'm here to do. So let me quickly welcome everyone in here who is joining us. Hello, Victoria, Tiffany in Missouri. What part of Missouri are you, Tiffany? I live in Chicago, but I'm a big St. Louis Cardinal fan. So Gloria, you're new. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. Carmen is here. Stacia, hello. I'm Dee, sunny South Florida, and I do know Stacia is in Madison, Wisconsin. So thank you everyone for joining me. And if you're, hi, Steve from Germany is here as well. That's one of the things I love the most about this community is people from all over the world. And we may have different backgrounds, different faiths, different cultures, but generally speaking, again, I'm not going to say everyone, the majority of us want peace, safety, meaningful work, health, and knowing that our families and our community are cared for and seen and heard. So I love being able to support everyone in that aspect. Southeast. Tiffany, I'm really bad at directions, so I'll have to. So southeast of St. Louis. Okay. I'll take a look at a map later because I'm really bad at directions. But today I wanted to talk about responding versus reacting. And I think this can be helpful in all sorts of situations. Again, we're talking about the majority of the time. What I'm telling you can be helpful. So if you're at 51%, then you're in the majority of the time. If you're at 40%, 30%, 20%, does not make you wrong, does not make you bad. It just means where you're at right now. And that's okay. There's nothing you need to change about yourself to be deserving and worthy of living your best life. So when we respond and react, it's coming from a different space. So I'm going to share the definitions. We're going to go over some affirmations and then some tips on responding rather than reacting to things. So the definition of respond is to say something in return. And honestly, I got to tell you, both of these definitions, I'm like, don't know that they make a lot of differences to me, but I do think responding and reacting are quite different. So respond is to say something in return. React is to exert a reciprocal or counteracting force or influence, to change in response to a stimulus. So when we're in reactive mode, it's coming from our reptilian brain that is fight, flight, or freeze. And it's about feeling safe. So when we're feeling threatened by anything, whether it's words, whether it's actions, whether it's our own thoughts, we tend to react rather than to respond. It's automatic mostly. It's instinctual, again, because we're on that self-protective mode. It often comes from our belief system that we've had for many, many years. So again, it's a responsive reaction. It's a reactive. I'm told you these two words are a little confusing, but we're reacting rather than thinking about what we're going to respond to. So it's an immediate, often unconscious thing that we do. And I don't know if any of you have ever said something where often it's usually not a kind thing that you say. And then right after you say it, you're like, what did I just do? Because you reacted rather than taking a moment to pause, breathe, and think about what you're going to say. Pretty sure the vast majority of us have reacted rather than responded on many, many occasions. Some of us may be more reactive than responsive. It's a practice. It's being aware of where you're at and where you want to be. So again, to react, it doesn't take into consideration of long-term effects of what you just said or what you've just done. It's just immediate reacting to it. We often mirror back what is coming at us. So when somebody insults us, we tend to react with an insult back. When somebody comes at us with anger, we tend to react in anger back because it's instinctual and it's an immediate response to the situation. And reactivity tends to be disempowering because, again, we're coming from the reptilian brain. We are not thinking through things to know that this is going to serve us well right in this moment or serve us well in the future. We are just reacting to that immediate stimulus that we're going through. So respond is from our prefrontal cortex, and that's the reasoning aspect of our brain. And that's where calm and happiness tends to thrive and grow in, where our reptilian brain is where the anxiety, where the fear, where the depression, that's where it's nurtured in, is from that part of our brain that's just simply on survival mode, where our prefrontal cortex, I'm going to say that right one of these days, that's more from a reasoning aspect, and we're thinking through things on how it's going to impact us, not just in this moment, but for future as well. It's a deliberate choice. When we are in response, then we're thinking about it. We're deliberately choosing what we're going to say, what we're going to do next. Whereas reaction, we're not thinking about it. We're just absolutely doing it. And then it's on focusing on our values and what's important to us comes from a response. Generally speaking, when we're reacting, we're not thinking. So we may say something that's totally against our values because we are just reacting to whatever stimulus has come at us from the more of a negative aspect. We tend to react back negatively. If it's a more of a positive stimulus, we tend to have that reaction back too. But it's not from a thought process. It's just an immediate action that we're taking. So our affirmation today is I respond to life from a space of love and gentleness towards myself and others. Now, affirmations are just a statement. We're affirming something within ourselves. We could be affirming what we don't like. We can affirm what we do like. So a positive affirmation is affirming what we do like. However, if that positive statement is immediately met with a that's not true, such as I'm very smart, and then if I immediately say no, I'm not very smart, then that positive statement is not a good positive statement for me. So you would want to switch it up, either completely switch it up or add the words in. I'm in the process of becoming very smart. I'm in the process of feeling very smart. So today's would be I'm in the process of responding to life from a space of love and gentleness towards myself and others. And again, please keep in mind, this is the majority of the time. This is 51% of the time. So when you're responding to life from anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment, you are not wrong. It is not bad. It's just where you are in the moment. The more that you are aware of how you feel is when you can move forward to feeling a little bit better the majority of the time. Not a right or wrong. It's not a good or bad. It's just where you're at today. So some tips for responding rather than reacting. So first one, and I say this almost every day, is to be aware of how you feel. When you're aware that somebody is triggering you, you're able to take a pause and then respond to them. When you're aware of feeling good, when you're aware of feeling bad, you get to decide if this is where you need to be. And if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, frustrated, does not mean that you need to move forward to feel better right now, but your awareness of where you're at allows you to decide, this doesn't feel good. I'm going to start taking small steps to feel better, or I need to sit with this for a while because I'm not ready to move forward. But you are aware of it, so now you're in an empowered position to make choices rather than being on autopilot where life is living you. When you're aware of how you feel, you are able to live life from there. Breathe. When you're ready, when you're feeling that trigger coming on and you just want to spew something at someone, whether or spew something towards yourself, take some deep breaths. When we tend to come from a space of fear, anger, frustration, we generally speaking are constricting our breathing, and we're not giving our body the oxygen. We're not giving our heart, we're not giving our brain the oxygen it needs to make some better decisions for ourselves in that moment. So the awareness allows you to pause and take a deep breath on it. I encourage you, when you're needing those deep breaths, again, inhale on a slow count of 4, hold it for a slow count of 4, exhale on a slow count of 4, hold that for a slow count of 4, and keep repeating the cycle 3 to 5 times, maybe more if you need it, but that's helping to re-energize and replenish in your body to be able to move forward, to respond rather than react. And then the pause, pausing before you say anything. Even when you're saying something kind, you can still pause to make sure that it's being met with kindness. So again, the fact for pause requires you to be aware. The fact for breathing requires you to be aware of the situation, requires you to realize, ooh, that just triggered me. And I get triggered by things all the time. And I pause and I breathe, because reacting out of anger does not serve me for me. Some people may feel that it's serving to them, and that's your choice to feel that way. but it does not feel good to me to react or for me to have angry thoughts, words, or actions. So I breathe and I pause. And then the next thing is to reframe it. So I'm triggered. We're focusing on what I don't want to happen in this moment, what I don't want to happen coming up in the future. So I'm aware that I'm focusing on my don't wants. So I reframe it to focus into what I do want. How do I want this situation to evolve? How do I want to respond to this situation, whether it's a positive or negative situation that I find myself in? And again, positive isn't right or wrong. Negative isn't right or wrong. It's just where you're at and where you want to be. It's your choice moment by moment to choose from. And then the last thing is to look at the big picture of what your dream life looks like. And you may be triggered right in this moment, but ask yourself, is this moment in time impacting my overall life of what I want to live? And if it is, then maybe we need to look at it in a deeper level and work through that. But often we're reacting in the moment, and these moments tend to be inconsequential to the overall big picture. So take a look into when you find yourself in reactive mode. And really, most likely you don't find yourself in reactive mode until after the situation. Then you're able to pause, and then you're able to look at it. And that's okay too. It's a practice. So you've reacted to something, and maybe you said something that you wish you wouldn't have, or often you said something to yourself or thought something to yourself that you wish you wouldn't have. Be gentle with yourself. Realize you're aware of it, and the more you're aware of it, the more you're able to make changes from there. Sometimes those changes are really hard to do. Sometimes it's just the awareness allows you to shift it. Not a right or wrong, good or bad. It's where you're at, where you want to be. So those are the tips for you today, is to look at ways to respond rather than react. Reaction is coming from our primitive part of our brain that just wants to be safe. Response is coming from our thought processes where we're thinking about the long-term picture of what I'm about to say, what I'm about to do, how it's going to impact me and others moving down the road, not just in this reactive moment where sometimes we feel like we want to say those mean words because maybe they've just been said to us. So wanting to protect ourselves is not a wrong thing at all. It's what do you want to do and how do you want to feel to move forward? One of my biggest questions I ask myself daily, sometimes a few times a day, especially if I'm finding myself more in frustration, is who do I want to be and how do I want to show up? I want to show up in love, kindness, compassion, peace, and positivity the majority of the time. Anger, frustration, unworthiness, all of those things still visit me, but because I've made it a daily practice to show up in my values, they just visit, they don't move in. So I hope these tips help you, and it's really about anything that we're feeling, whether it's anxiety, whether it's stress, whether it's frustration, whether it's happiness, whether it's joy, to know, to look at, are we reacting to something or are we responding to something? Reacting tends to not have thought process involved, and it's just immediate. Response, our thought process could be so immediate because maybe it's been a daily practice, so you don't even realize that you're thinking about it. But when you're responding, you have taken that moment to think about it. That moment might be a nanosecond. That moment might be you've taken a half an hour to sit with whatever's going on before you respond to it. So it's not a right or wrong. It's just where you are and where you want to be. So I'm going to come into comments to see if there's any questions about response or reactive. Hello, Cindy from South Africa. Let me see. I'm going to go back to the top. So Steve is where I left it. Kate is here with Ireland. Thank you. Hi, Carrie. Good to have you here. Gloria from Connecticut. Bobby Lynn says hello. Ashley. And by the way, sometimes I do not see your comments until I come back later. I don't know why they don't all show up live, but sometimes that happens. So please know I'm not trying to ignore you. Yes, someone snaps at you when you're trying to use humor. Well, and Kate, it depends on what kind of humor you're talking about, because it's absolutely true. And they say that humor is one of the best medicines, which I believe. I use humor all the time. But keep in mind if it's sarcasm, because sarcasm is critical humor. Like, it truly means to not be nice, but we do it in a humorous way to try to mask our anger, so to speak. So I did one on sarcasm, I don't know, a month or two ago. So it depends on what type of humor is being used, but humor is definitely a great way. As always, I needed this affirmation. Excellent, Cindy. I'm so glad that that is helpful to you. Hello, Anna. Good to see you. I'm happy to have you here. I haven't seen your name pop up for a while. Okay, I do not see any questions here, so, but I will come back later and check to see if there's any questions on today's topic, or if you have other topics that you want me to discuss. I do have some topics that other people have already sent in from the community. I just wanted to really cover this react rather than respond today. I don't know what I will talk about tomorrow. It might be one of those topics. Something else might pop into my head as well. But I will definitely come back here tomorrow at 11:30. So please join me then. And if any of the offerings that I share with you help you, I would appreciate it if you would share these videos to invite more people into our community. And remember, positivity, positive focus, I probably need to specify this a little more, is not about rainbows and unicorns. It would be wonderful if life was purely rainbows and unicorns, but it's about being gentle with yourself wherever you find yourself on the 0 to 100 spectrum. It's not right or wrong to be negative. It's not right or wrong to be positive. It's where you're at, how you feel, and how you want to feel moving forward. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. And again, for the person who sent this message to me, I so appreciate it, because I want to make sure people are aware of the fact that I'm here to help support you, certainly not to admonish you if you find yourself in a hard place in your life today. So that is what we've got. I'm checking messages really quickly again. I don't see anything new here. Oh, Cindy, I was speaking about using humor to make emotions lighter. Oh, you had a funeral today. Yes. Sending you lots of love. Funerals are very difficult. Even if we know that they're still around us, losing somebody physically is a hard thing to go through. So sending you lots of love. And I will talk to you all soon. I'll talk to you tomorrow for sure at 11:30. So please join me then. Remember to go out there and have a good day. Work on responding more than reacting. Reacting is probably still going to happen, and that's okay. It's part of who we are. But know to be gentle with yourself when you find yourself doing thoughts, words, or actions that aren't the person you want to be, and be gentle with yourself, and then move towards the person you want to be. Just small steps. That's all it requires. It actually doesn't require anything. But if you want to feel a little bit better, take some small steps to get there. And so that's what I got for you today. Have a great rest of your day. We will talk tomorrow at 11:30. And remember, you matter. You matter to me, you matter to the world, and most importantly, you matter to you. So we'll talk soon. So long for now.